You know, when there's a minister somewhere else in the country who's a great friend of Unity Church of Hawaii, you know, somebody from all the way over on that faraway coast, who's coming to the islands to visit his daughter and grandson and celebrate his own birthday in a contemplative experience, and he says, "Would you like me to come and could I serve?" We say yes, especially when that someone is a hooligan minister, a partner in holy mischief with us, who has been doing this sacred work for over 35 years, who has led churches around the Pacific Northwest and right here in these islands, and whose work and wisdom and joy and spirit and heart have touched, I dare say, tens of thousands of lives. When Richard Levy says, "May I come?" we say, yes. Welcome, Richard.
I spoke at Barry Dennis's church, and when you go to Barry Dennis's church, he looks at your lesson summation and he writes a piece of poetry around your talk and writes music for it too. This was his poetry. It's called Genera City. I invite you to really enjoy the energy and the consciousness and the clarity of my brother, dear friend, Barry Dennis.
It's a new day.
And my boyfriend and I are taking the weekend as a trial to see if our relationship is, well, worthwhile.
And it's not just our relationship, our entire existence. It's just so hard. Our life seems to take such persistence.
So we're cruising through the countryside. We come to a crossroad. We sat there for a while, not sure which way to go.
We finally went right, drove to a place we'd never seen. Kinda lost, we pulled into a town called Genera, population 1017.
We couldn't find it on the map or on the GPS. The sign read, "Welcome to Genera, best kept secret." True, I guess.
There's a buzz to this city, a kind of peaceful, audible hum. I've never heard anything like it. Can't tell where it originates from.
So here we are at Cafe Genera. I ordered a huge piece of pie. My boyfriend wants a bite. I can see it in his eye. As I take a drink of water, he says,
"How about a nibble?"
I joke on the drink, which causing me to dribble. Sure, yes, of course, I said, a bite. I size up the piece of pie, its width and its height, for I fork a crumb of crust with a speck of peach. My utensil to his mouth I slowly begin to reach.
He opens wide, then the crumb falls off the fork.
Shazbot!
I proclaim like Mork from Ork.
That little speck of peach makes the journey to his tongue. He says,
"Wow, that's... Thanks, honey, yum."
"Isn't it great?" I say as I eat the crumb from the floor.
"Great."
He says,
"Why, I couldn't eat any more."
The waiter came by and gave us the check. I looked at it and rubbed my neck.
He said the pie's on the house. "Thanks for coming in. I hope you'll stick around a while," he said with a grin.
I asked my boyfriend, "What about the tip? Maybe 2%?
He's not a carton of milk. "How about 3? He was excellent.
Then he got out a pack of spearmint gum, and I looked at him hesitantly. "May I have some?"
He began to break off a piece so small you'd need an atom splitter to divide the gum once more if you were to share it with a microscopic critter.
I tried to chew it, but my teeth just clicked loudly together, like when you get the shivers in an inclement weather.
Then we head out into the street. It's a lovely little city. The shops, the sidewalks lined with flowers, quite pretty.
We stop in Genera gift store just to look around, when the coolest hat I've ever seen on a rack I found.
How much for the hat? The owner replied, "Well, for you, it's free. It's your first time in, and the rule is, the first gift is on me."
"Wow, that's very generous," I said, as I stepped out into the sun, feeling glad that our time in this best-kept secret just had begun.
I could hear angelic music coming from somewhere in town. "Excuse me," I said to a couple on a tandem. "What's that beautiful sound?"
It's the Children's Choir Benefit Concert at the city center. If you hurry, you can see the solo by Timmy, our amazing second tenor.
Here, take our tandem. It's faster than car or feet. Turn left at the corner of Love and Kindness Street. Go down the skinny alley. It opens to a town square. You'll find the choir in the middle performing there.
So we hopped on their bike, said thanks a lot, followed the directions right to the spot.
And Timmy, this skinny, almost frail little boy, began to sing his solo, a solo of great joy.
It touched my heart, it reached my soul, brought a tear to my eye. And my boyfriend, before that moment, I had never seen him cry.
He sang with all his heart. He gave without measure. And then the choir joined in. It was bliss, a soulful treasure.
The only disappointing thing was when the concert stopped, there was a slot for donations. So in $1 I dropped.
And then the strangest thing happened. That hum in the background changed pitch until it just stopped, like a machine gets broken from a glitch.
And everything and everyone came to a complete halt. Even Timmy, frozen stiff somehow as a result.
Then a small man appeared on an old-style Schwinn. Out of nowhere, he slowly came riding in. With a look of sadness, compassion, and maybe pity, he said,
Look what you have done to Genera City. You've shut it completely off. You're not in the hose. Ever since you've came, it's been more and more difficult for the good that flows. To find a way to the center, to move through the heart of the town, you too have single-handedly shut it down. As the mayor of Genera City, I'm the last to go. If you don't untie the knot in you, soon I'll be frozen, head to toe.
"I don't understand," I said. "What do you mean?"
Open your heart, he replied. Let me set the scene. First, you received a free pie and you gave a 3% tip. Then your hat was given as a gift on this trip. Then you were given a tandem bike to ride to see Timmy sing, and your soul was filled with the gift that the children did bring. You see, there is a flow, a giving energy that moves through all of us who live here in Genera City. There is no lack, there is no need, there is even no fear. But the energy that fuels the town got stuck in you right here.
How do I get it unstuck? I want Timmy to sing, and I love this city. I want to receive all the goodness it has to bring.
First, he said, be grateful for all you've been given, and then let it flow. And the power will return to Genera City, and the peace and the joy will grow.
I am grateful. I really am. I just never really realized.
It's time, he said, you looked at your life and revised.
So I looked at all of Genera City, and I gave another donation equal to what I felt I'd received. Then came a surge of power, elation.
And that hum returned. The lights came on, and the choir sang an encore.
And my boyfriend and I began to see why we weren't so happy before.
"This is the happiest place in the world," I said to the mayor as the sun set.
It's unfortunate, he replies, that Genera City remains the best-kept secret.
But why, I said, and where are we? On the map, this place we couldn't find. He pointed to his temple and said,
Don't you know it's in your mind?
Suddenly, we were back at the crossroad, approaching the four-way stop. I ever so gently slowed.
We looked at each other, and without a word, the options we did weigh, we went straight this time and soon came to a country cafe. And when my dessert came, he wanted a bite. I could see it in his eye. And so without a moment's hesitation, I gave him the whole pie.
So are you ready to take a journey with me from scarcity to generosity? Are you ready to take a journey with me from Adam man to Christ consciousness? Are you ready to take a journey from being a victim to circumstances and conditions to being a victor? Are you willing to say yes to that? Are you ready to get out of the economy of fear and live from the economy of love? Yes, it's an act of generosity that begins that process. And in the Bible, we're turning towards Jesus. Jesus Christed consciousness, Jesus Christ herself, is sitting at the well of Samaria. And he's sitting in a full lotus. And a woman comes, a Samaritan woman, and this conversation begins to happen between the vertical and the horizontal. The horizontal is the Samaritan woman, the vertical is Christ consciousness. And he says, when a Samaritan woman came to draw water, "Will you give me a drink?" The Samaritan woman said, "What are you talking about? You are a Jew, and I'm a Samaritan woman. We're not supposed to have any social intercourse. We don't even talk to each other." She was giving what I'm calling today in our talk our Jacob storyline. We always have a Jacob storyline. And Jesus answered her and says to each one of us, "If you knew the gift of God, and who is it that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living waters." And so she's got her ears perked up now. Everyone, Jesus says, to each one of us in this room, Christ consciousness, Buddha nature, everyone who drinks of this water, the Jacob's well, will thirst again. But the water I will give you will become like a wellspring of divine energy and substance that when you drink of it, you will not thirst again. When you eat of it, you will not be hungry again. And you know what? Her ears are perked up now. She's going, "Well, I'd like some of that water." Here's the process of how it works. Well, Jesus says, "Well, then go get me your 5 husbands." And she goes, "I don't have 5 husbands." He says, "Yes, you do. You have 5 physical senses that have proven to you all the different things about your life. You live your life from your senses. Bring those senses here. Come with me and sit down next to me. And in that moment, give me a drink. And I will connect you to the living waters of truth." Her healing, our awakening begins not with getting anything, but an act of generosity, an act of giving. That's where it starts. So I'm at Seattle Unity, and I'm there just kind of new to this larger church. There's my church in Port Angeles, 150 people. The phone rings 4 times. There's Seattle Unity where the phone rings 40 times in 1 hour. Sounds like this place, right? And I'm told this is a very interesting part of town. It's Denny Park is right here. So it's surrounded by Jacob storyline, stories from pimps, prostitutes, and drug dealers who are very convincing about what they need from this church. And besides, we need to lock the doors because things get taken from here all the time. So I was given a warning, and I was in my particular place meditating in the chapel at Unity of Seattle, if you know that place. And so when I came out, I was all in my horizontal mode, and a guy comes in. And he is awesome. He takes a bunch of pills and bottles with his name on it and says, "These are my prescriptions. I really need to get these filled. I really could use some help." Then he takes out a photo album of his whole family and all of his kids. And by the end of that, I just gave him $50. I said, "Sure, take it." And then the bookstore manager comes in and says, "What have you done? He's one of the best in the market. He should be on the Shakespearean Theater show in Seattle. You've gotten taken." And I said, "Well, it was almost worth $50. It was such a good show." He says, "Be more conscious. You don't want to just throw it away." So it's Monday now. I've got my day off. And Robbie Feinstack is doing the Course in Miracles group. And again, it's 7 o'clock. And when someone has a class, they close all the doors. And if anybody wants to get in, they've got to either ring the buzzer or knock on the door to get in. So Robbie's getting ready for his class at 7 o'clock. And he hears this. And so, knock and the door shall. And sometimes what walks in is your next lesson. Do we ever know what that's going to be? We don't. And so this man says, "I got to talk to somebody about money." And Robbie goes, 20 years being at this church, "There's nobody here who can talk to you about money. Come back on Tuesday. We'll take care of you. God bless you." And he begins to walk out. And the man goes, and Robbie opens the door again with a kind of look in his face with his eyes rolling. He says, "I haven't come to ask for money. I've come to give you this money. Will you take it for me and put it to good use? I want you to have this." And he gives him this gift. And Robbie says, what's your name? He goes, doesn't matter. Please put it to good use. And Robbie opens the envelope, and there's $2,100 bills in there. It's $2,000. Now, during that particular summer, my first summer there, church was going through the financial blues like a lot of people do. And the story was we always go broke during the summer. And so I was teaching a generosity series. So Robbie broke the rule about not talking to me on Monday and called me and said, I just got an envelope with $2,000 in it. And I said, you can call me any day of the week, anytime, and tell me the news about $2,000. I'll be happy. That guy came back 3 more times. And literally the $8,000 that came from him got the church through a very rough period during the summer. Now, fast forward a year later, we're in my Oasis class with Maureen and I doing blessings and dikshas and some talk stuff. And a guy walks up to us and says, I know you never met me, but do you remember last summer somebody came to the church and gave you all that cash? He said, that was me. And I want you to know, as an act of giving that money to you, my life changed completely. I was in a negative spiral going down the tube. Destruction was my only way. Something said, go, give to this church, this one here. And I gave, and my life began to change. I started coming to classes. I'm going to become a new member. And as an act of generosity, everything changed. He gave first, and then he received. He was willing to follow the principle, even though he didn't know about it, and it was unconscious for him. So now we're in ministerial school, and we have a teacher named Hypatia Hasbrook, the Brillo Soap head of the Unity Movement, who tells us this is a class on prosperity. At that particular time, I'd lost my job, Maureen had lost her job. We had 3 children, one with an undiagnosed terminal illness, and we were broke. We looked like we had no visible signs of support from anything. And so she says, you are going to, as an assignment for the next 4 months, you're going to tithe to some place that spiritually nourishes you. And then she asked a room full of ministers, 45 of us, how many here actually tithe? Half the hands went up. And you know what? Mine didn't go up. I tithe of my time, my talents, my treasures. No worries with that product. But money was, money is different. Ooh, money. It's just, I don't tithe my money. I've got this wealth coming from my family's inheritance, and I'm not going to give any money. And I went, okay, well, we'll practice. We haven't got much, but we'll do it. And so we got this little cute prosperity bank. Anybody remember the old prosperity bank? And my little daughter, Alethea, was 4 years old then, and she put in a quarter every day. God is my instant constant in abundant supply. Bing, ching. She would do that. And I want to tell you, as a result of giving those quarters, and at that time, we only had quarters to give. Our relationship to money and income and flow changed in our life. It was like we opened up this wellspring of love that literally blessed us with everything we needed when we needed at just the right time. This is not just about money. If you have a problem in your life and you're waiting for you to get it correct first before you move energy in a new direction, you're never going to give. If you're waiting for conditions to get perfect, you'll never give. An example, you wake up in the morning and you know you want to meditate and pray, but you think you don't want to do it, I don't feel like it. Well, 10% of you get your butt on the cushion and pray and meditate, and you'll be blessed by that willingness to move energy in a new direction. You've got someone who's difficult to forgive. Anybody know that person? By the way, you're someone who's difficult to forgive as well, too. They're talking about you at some other church right now. You go ahead and you forgive. You forgive anyway, because that's the work that we do. You're in traffic and you're cut off again, and everybody's just driving you crazy. You're just completely impatient. And there's that person you're talking to who never gets to the point. Do you know that person? It could be you. And you're just going to be patient instead. Just before you become a patient, I'll be patient. And you practice, and that little bit of giving shifts consciousness. This can do you amazing wonders. Don't wait till you get it perfect. Just be 10% willing to move it in a new direction. So I'm at the church in Wilmington now, and Maureen and I are now strict tithers. We can't wait to give. Get some money. We got $10,000. We get to tithe 1,000. That was not how we felt in the beginning. In the beginning, it was, oh, oof, wow. And now it's, oh, wow, I can't believe it. What a gift. Can't wait to give it back out again. You get in the flow of that, and you see that it really works. So I'm at this church, and we're at the place of not Port Angeles, but Squim. Not Squim. I'm getting my names wrong now. 3 services, a lot. You know what I'm talking about. We're in Wilmington. And Wilmington, they're telling us the story. Everybody's got a Jacob storyline. Their Jacob storyline is, every summer for the last 20 years, we go broke and attendance goes down, so we just use credit cards to get by. And Maureen and I said, we are no longer doing that. It's kind of like we're tithing 10% from this moment on. You hired me. I told you I would do this. Let's begin to get in the flow and break this cycle of scarcity to move into generosity with an act of giving, an act of giving. So, life tests you. So I got a phone call from the business manager who said, okay, Mr. Spiritual, here's our situation. We have $236. We have the cable bill to pay. We have the mortgage to pay. We have salaries, yours, of course. We've got water, and we've got electric. And then we also have, these are the conditions now. This is the situations in your life. There are your conditions. And we have a tithe check. What sayest thou you, Mr. Spiritual? Who do we pay? And I said, we pay the tithe first. We put God first. And that Sunday, that important talk, you know this, the one you don't want to hear, was the least attended Sunday we'd ever had at the church in the history of the church. And yet that giving from that handful of people changed everything. Generosity works. It can shift your consciousness. We do the Prosperity Plus 1 and 2 with Men and Mary Morrissey, and people come and they're all excited about, I'm going to get a vision for my life and my health and my relationships and my finances, and the first thing they get told is, you're going to have to tithe 10% of your gross income to this church, and you just can see them go, ugh. And literally people walk out. I didn't come to give. You guys are trying to trick me. I'm trying to trick you, trying to wake you up. Give up your resistance. Your persistent resistance, and the 90% you have left over will go so much further than your 100% ever did for you. And then you know what? It's true that this really works. So we watch people meet their resistance, and then about 4 weeks, 5 weeks in the program, they start telling their miracle stories of generosity and abundance, which has nothing and everything to do with money. Because anything you do with everything is anything, and everything is an opportunity to practice, right? Practice, practice, practice. When you put it into play, your life changes. So I just turned 64. When I get older, many years. And I've always been the man of steel. I have been the man that can run copious miles. He can lift weights. He can carry pianos up staircases. He can do anything. And for my birthday this year, I got a large dose of kryptonite. I fell on my hip, that hip I was telling you about, that hip, and it began to flare back up again. And then I found myself being given my dose of kryptonite. Here it is. I went to the medical supply place, and they said, for your trip to Hawaii, you probably are going to need this. And the guy says to me, we'll open up an account for you at the medical supply place. I said, and I want you to know my vibrational frequency went from 1,000 to 0 in just a few seconds. This was not what I signed up for. This is not what I want. This is the appearance in your life. This is the condition. This is life in the body. I've been teaching people for 35 years, you are not a body, you are free. You are still as God created you. How do you live it now? How do you practice it? But I didn't want to do this lesson. That's for other people. That's for me later, not now. And so there it was. Here's your choice. And it dropped my vibrational frequency. I got to be real honest with you. I was depressed for at least a week. I looked at this thing and I can't believe it's come to this. And so what it's come to is humility. What it's come to is letting go. What it's come to is surrender. What it's come to is letting go of the idea that my source is separate from anything other than the wellspring of love within me. I can use this to awaken or go back to sleep. The choice will be mine. So I took my crucified, now skinny legs and butt, and I walked over to the well. Because you know situations that crucify you? You all know a situation that's crucifying you. We all feel it. It's the horizontal. It's when situations and circumstances seem completely overwhelming and we don't know what to do. That's when you need to surrender and practice. I know I did. So I slowly limped over to the wellspring of love. And Jesus Christ, for me, that's the one I call on. Not just cosmic Christ or universal principle, but I got a personal love of Jesus. I always have. I'm a Jew for Jesus. I asked him to give me a drink to help me. I said, I'm going through this and I'm feeling flattened by it. And he said, well, I know the experience. I'm headed there the next week, you know. We all know it. We all know it's around the corner. And he said, I want to share something with you to get you off your cross. Just a few simple words. I want you to stop feeling sorry for yourself and give up the pity party. Stop feeling sorry for yourself and give up the pity party. And I was willing. I just said, okay, I'll do it. I'll learn to make this a part of my life and be grateful that I have it for now. Yes? And so I began to practice with it. Maureen makes me use it all the time, by the way. And so I've practiced now. I'm using this. And you know something? It really isn't that bad. And I'm so grateful I have it. And if you have these practices and teachings, you'll be able to face anything that might happen to you, whatever life can throw at you, and you will use it not to go to sleep, but to wake up. For transformation is why we are here. Yes. That's why we come here again and again and again. And so when Maureen told me, I'm getting you a wheelchair at the airport when you fly over, I said, that's the final insult. I don't need a You're getting a wheelchair. I know you. And when Maureen speaks, I listen. That's called a good day. And so you know what? I got in the wheelchair, and rather than fight and resist it and hold my head down, I made it an opportunity to practice mindfulness at the airport. Big grin on my face. And you know who notices you when you're real low in a wheelchair? Children. They see you and they think it's so cute, and I waved and winked at them. I got to go Manuel, who was pulling me. He's got a family. He's having a new baby. I got to know him really well. When you dance with life, life dances with you. When you take whatever's going on and use it for transformation, you're no longer a slave to conditions. You're no longer a victim, but you are a victor, a co-creator with God. And that's what everything that happens to us is for that intended purpose, to awaken. Yes, the dog agrees to who we truly are. That was dog and God right there. So let's take a look at our lesson summation for a moment and see if I said any things I thought I would. Today's pearls of wisdom. This is from Barry. There is a flow of giving that moves through us all that live in generosity. That's why there is no lack and there is no need, because everybody participates and is in part of the process. You give and you give a little bit more. This church can't function without that. That's how it works. And as you give to it, it gives even more to you. As you give, Jesus said, giving and receiving are one in truth. To give is how you recognize you have received. And to the hands that give, the very gift is given. You can give victimhood and fear and doubt and anger, and the world will say, hi, here comes victimhood, doubt, and anger right at your door, knocking, saying, hello. If you knew as I do the power of giving, you would not let a single meal pass without sharing some of it. And so this is from, well, that's me, I guess. Generosity is my natural state. I easily expand and extend into experiences of abundance and prosperity. This generous giving, this 10%, this willingness to move energy in a new direction will bless you with a connection to some source of wisdom in you much deeper than you can ever connect with yourself. When you're willing to surrender and trust and be open to it, when you're willing to own whatever your Jacob storyline is, and if you don't know what it is, ask your friends. They know what your Jacob storyline is. You've been telling them that same boring story for 20 years. You start moving into a different energy field, and you begin to change and rearranged in a twinkling of an eye by your willingness to give, and give abundantly to the things that give so much abundance to you. So let's end with saying this together. Generosity is my natural state. I easily expand and extend into experiences of abundance and prosperity. We put a smile on our face when we say that because we're grateful for it. Let's take a moment now just to take these ideas within to our heart and our minds and settle into our bodies. Bring all of our senses to this moment. You have some difficult situation, a challenge you're going through. I know that if you're here, you do. Something that has you feeling flat out on the horizontal. You're not alone. All of us who are in a body face challenges and difficulties. But we're not alone. The truth reminds us, give me a drink and let me bless you with life everlasting. Let me bless you with the knowing that you are not alone, that I am with you always. And may every knock on the door allow you to receive the gift that life has to offer you. And so as we think of our difficulty or our challenge, we just follow the simple prayer, which is sometimes the best. I let go as you breathe in. Breathing out, I let God. Say that with me. I let go, I let God. For a few moments in silence, let's let go and let God together.